What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. Thank you for joining. I try to do an upload every day, except when they get pulled down. That's a story for another day. Cori Bush led a progressive protest to extend the eviction moratorium. Most of you probably already are aware of this. There are problems with the protest to me, but I do want to give Cori Bush and progressives credit, whether it was last second or whatever. They were fighting for people, real people who were going to get evicted. CNN wanted to put a face to this crisis, so they did.
Congresswoman Bush joins me now. Wow to you. How does it feel to hear this news of this moratorium tonight, thanks to you?
Because we're in position, I'm just so thankful that families like Kelly's family get to stay in their homes. It shouldn't have to come to this, but I'm glad that we're here.
So, Kelly, the Congresswoman saw you last night on the show in the piece about you and your girls. And she said about you and your children, I quote you, Congresswoman, we're working hard for you. And I know what it's like to be their mommy. Kelly, do you have anything to say to Congresswoman Bush tonight?
Yes, absolutely. It's an honor to even speak with you. I'm just so fortunate right now. This is beyond me. You don't understand. Like when I put that up, I never thought that anybody would have reached out, especially CNN, and then to hear that a congressperson my story reached you. This is just amazing. I'm so thankful for that there's people like you out there. I'm so thankful for it. Thank you so much. I'm sorry.
It looked like a heartwarming, touching story. The problem is that it was a scam, allegedly. It's a fraud, allegedly. Dasha Kelly is the woman that you saw there who saying that she's the mother of 3 kids. We've learned now that she is not the mother of those 3 kids. You search her name, Dasha Kelly, on Twitter if you want the full story. I'm not going to get into that on this video, but the main point is that that was a misrepresentation, so much so that she did a GoFundMe. She had a goal of $2,000 to help her out. She raised over $225,000, but GoFundMe had to refund the money. The point that I want to talk about here, though, is that Kelly claimed to be, this is Dasha Kelly, the woman in the video, claimed to be the mother of 3 young kids. She says she originally described herself to CNN as the mother because she considers herself to be like one to them. And what we have here is a real life example of counter storytelling. This is critical race theory. Counter storytelling or experiential knowledge, or however you want to describe it, is my personal story and perception is fact that has to be acknowledged. And with critical race theory, it is a black or white thing. There is no, I'm in the middle of critical race theory. I think about this, or I side with you 50-50, I side with you 50-50. No. What that means is either you believe Dasha Kelly and respect her story, or you don't. If you believe her story, you are on the side, you are favoring people who are oppressed. If you don't, then you are favoring the oppressor. This is something that if this had happened, Cori Bush, and I'm not blaming Cori Bush. I don't know what she knew or didn't know about this. She was just talking, in response to a story that went viral, was on CNN. If this had happened when I was growing up back in the 80s, 90s, or even early 2000s, most likely a politician like Cori Bush would have released a statement saying something to the effect of, we've gotten more information. It seems like we should have vetted Dasha Kelly, but her story of eviction still represents millions of other people. Something like that, to that effect. Not an apology or anything, but acknowledging that it wasn't vetted out, but it's still accurate to represent people. You don't see that anymore. And because this probably started in the mid 2000s, 2010, 2015. I didn't realize it till recently, but this has been going on for about a decade. That you won't hear anybody talk about the scam of this story because it's justified through critical race theory, and I will interpret this as this counter storytelling. At its heart, it is a positive thing. It's a person who is labeled as oppressed or who has experienced racism telling their story, their facts that isn't told by the mainstream propaganda. But the problem with it is that they justify lying under the guise of perception. My perception is I'm their mother, that I'm basically their mother. So I'm not lying. I'm telling you my lived experience. And it's not to be questioned. This is an example of moral relativism. And what that basically means is there is no absolute moral standard. It's all relative. So you're living in a world where you don't understand what morals are. What does lying mean? What does racism mean? What does truth mean? That truth under this religion doesn't mean what truth used to mean. It's my truth. So if I feel like I went out and somebody did something to me, somebody stepped on my shoe, and I believe it was because of racism, that is truth, even if you have no idea. There is a cheat sheet created by James Lindsay and others that is really good at helping us guide through these critical race theory terms. I provided feedback. I think counter storytelling has to be a part of it because it's coming up more and more and more, where it's justifying somebody's story because the means justify the ends of getting the story out there of people getting evicted. I'm going to end on this. The big picture takeaway, though, is that the eviction crisis is real. That is a real thing. And those fake stories like this, in a way, that are manipulative, they do it disjustice. And these are difficult conversations because I don't want anyone to get evicted, but we cannot do it unconstitutionally. Rome Bethea on Twitter, I think he got suspended again, but young man, I did a video on him, I'll link it up above, who I think very highly of. But and he helped me think through this, and he said he is an activist. He's on the streets. He is doing fundraising. He's helping people out. And it's good to have people in Congress give some support, come out to events. But at the end of the day, Rome Bethea really laid it out. He was like, we can't be in DC and legislate. The eviction moratorium, we knew about this date for a long time. We didn't need Cori Bush, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman. We didn't need them out there as protesters. We needed them out there way before that time as legislators playing that game of politics to get legislation passed. Instead, what did we get? We got a push to bypass legislation, because that's a lot of hard work, to get the executive branch, because this came from the CDC, which is under the branch of the Department of Health and Human Services, which is in the executive branch, the president. So what they've done is actually hurt their power in Congress, given the executive branch more power, unconstitutional power, and they haven't done their job. So it looks good, and they're doing their activism and their protests, and they got their speeches, and maybe there's not a lot of organic support out there on the steps, and most of them were staffers, we found out, but they're actually fighting for people. But at the end of the day, they're not doing their job. It was a real crisis. It still is a real crisis. And they have an opportunity right now to try and pass legislation that is constitutional, still not getting done. So that's what I wanted to say on that topic. Let me know what you think. Do you think that if you're aware of critical race theory, just Google it. Counter storytelling is what it's called. Experiential knowledge, or my story, his story, her story. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care.
Constitutional creeds, what you believe. Nowadays it's a different type breed. Declared independence on these hard knock streets. Laws have been forced, yet young as whole heat. Grandma scared to walk last week. She was robbed by a thief. People dying over frivolous beef. Respect is minimal. People hold more respect for a criminal. Oblivious, your enemy's a friend of yours. Trust waivers. Material things enslave us. Praying to myself, God save us. Hearts are jaded, sorta like juice when Raheem's moms was hugged by the arms of Bishop. Listen, people of color towards each other, rigid. If one is down, the other treat them like a peasant. True or false, the truth hard to absorb. The proof shows. Look at the effects it causes. On a mission for the people I'm down. For the warriors standing in ground. Salute for woman and child. We as the people must own up to a vow and take action against things that's pulling us down. I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. For change it guarantees. The people need to take charge, get involved and wake up, or forever stay asleep. Evil affects the hearts of men, even when they're made aware they're justifying the sin. There has to be a threshold you won't cross, but of course it's man's nature not to admit when he's wrong. I'm in that same boat trying to stay afloat, trying to take my own advice from the rhymes I write. The older you get, your thoughts mature. Jezebel's lure them in cause their pockets on full. AZ said it best, we lust the four devils. Most are fickle, won't lend you fam, not a nickel. People are stone cold, remember, everybody grows old. So who'll be your keeper when the time creep up? Family bonds these days are not tight. Selfish ways are vicious like a pit bull bite. True or false, the truth hard to absorb. The proof shows, look at the effects it causes. On a mission for the people I'm down. For the warriors standing in ground. Salute for woman and child. We as the people must own up to a vow and take action against things that's pulling us down. I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. For change it guarantees. The people need to take charge, get involved and wake up, or forever stay asleep. People are shifty, spending time and energy, warranted paranoia stays with me. Keeping my back against the wall so I can see what's going on. For quick decision making if I'm thinking about it. Misery, love, company, as opposed to seeing others doing their thing. They'll talk smack about them. Somebody shot, lying, dying on the ground instead of calling 911. People just crowd around them, the hood's paralyzed. All across these United States, eating off welfares, healthcare, SSI for the ones who can't work. Case workers sit behind a desk grilling your old earth when they work before and check themselves. Nose up in the air, pop a gun with fake hair and nails. True or false, the truth hard to absorb. The proof shows, look at the effects it causes. On a mission for the people I'm down. For the warriors standing in ground. Salute for woman and child. We as the people must own up to a vow and take action against things that's pulling us down. I'd rather die on my feet than to live on my knees. For change it guarantees. The people need to take charge, get involved and wake up, or forever stay asleep.